Hi, hello viewers, it's Min IAS Academy and today we are going to see about how to control inflation. So, what are the ways to control inflation? Let us see. So, what is this inflation? We have already discussed it in our previous video. So, inflation is nothing but persistent rise in price level. So, if there is a continuous rise in price level, if there is a loss in money value, if the money loses its value, then it is called as inflation. So, let us discuss the ways to control this inflation. So, inflation is not actually certain amount of inflation is necessary, but if the inflation is too much, then it is not good. So let us see the ways to control inflation. So the person who is responsible to keep this inflation in control is called as RBI. RBI is the person who is responsible to control this inflation. So RBI is the Reserve Bank of India. Then we have Government of India. Government of India is the one who is the main reason for this inflation. Government of India, if the Government of India increases the expenditure, then automatically inflation can happen. So say if the Government of India is increasing its infrastructure, then automatically more amount of employment will be generated. By this employment generation, then automatically more amount of money supply will be more amount of money will come into the market, and this will cause inflation. So Government of India is the main reason for inflation, and RBI is the one which is responsible for controlling this inflation. So what are the steps which RBI takes to control this inflation? Let us discuss here. So RBI, the tools to control inflation is two. One is monetary policy. So monetary policy is the main one to control inflation. So RBI's main tool to control this inflation is monetary policy. What is this monetary policy? There is two types of monetary policy. One is quantitative tool, another one is qualitative tool. So one tool is quantitative and another tool is qualitative tool. So in this two, quantitative tool is the most important one. The quantitative tool is the most important tool for RBI to control inflation. So first let us discuss what are the things which come under this quantitative tool. First one is BR. BR is bank rate. Bank rate comes under quantitative tool. Second one is CRR. Cash reserve ratio. Cash reserve ratio also comes under this quantitative. Third is SLR. SLR is statutory liquid ratio. Fourth is repo rate. Repo rate also comes under this quantitative tool. Then fifth one is reserve repo rate or reverse repo rate. So reverse repo rate also come under this quantitative tool. Sixth one is MSF. MSF is marginal standing facility. All these are the quantitative tools which RBI used to control the inflation. So let us discuss each one of it separately. First one is, let us discuss about the cash reserve ratio. So, cash reserve ratio. First, we should know what is this scheduled bank or scheduled commercial bank. There is an act called RBI Act. So, this RBI Act of 1934, in this RBI Act of 1934, there is a schedule called as Schedule 2. Under this Schedule 2, there are some banks. Some banks exist under this Schedule 2 and they can get loan from RBI. They are the banks which are eligible to get loan from this RBI, and those banks are called as scheduled banks or scheduled commercial banks. For example, we can say SBI. So foreign banks don't come under the scheduled banks. So foreign banks don't exist in the scheduled banks. So scheduled bank keeps some money with deposit in RBI. So with the deposit, these scheduled banks keep some money with the RBI, and that money is called as cash reserve ratio. So monetary policy, I have said monetary policy. In monetary policy only we are discussing the quantitative. So the monetary policy will be announced by the RBI by month. So by month means the RBI will announce the monetary policy 2 months once. So it will be announced. So cash reserve ratio is nothing but certain amount of money will be kept with the RBI. So it is like a deposit. With the deposit, banks need to keep certain amount of money with the RBI, and RBI won't give interest rate for that particular money. So say if for by month it will be announced, monetary policy will be announced by month by the RBI. So if it announced CRR as 4%, 4% of the amount will be kept with RBI as a cash reserve ratio. So say there are 1000 is the bank's total amount, principal amount. So say SBI bank have 1000 as the principal. Then 4% is announced as the CRR by the RBI. Then this 4% should be kept in RBI. So 4% should be kept in RBI. So this is what is called as cash reserve ratio. First, let us discuss what are these terms. Finally, I will explain how this is used to control inflation. So we have seen CRR. Then we have another term called as SLR. So SLR is the statutory liquid ratio. So statutory liquid ratio is similar to CRR only, but it will be kept by the bank in the bank itself in a easily convertible format. So SLR. SLR is the statutory liquid ratio. In this, each and every scheduled bank need to keep some amount of money, say 15%. They need to keep that percentage of money in an easily convertible format. So, easily convertible format. If I say easily convertible format, it means it can be kept as a government bond. So, it can be kept as a government bond or as a money itself or as a gold or dollar. So, certain amount of money should be kept by the bank in easily convertible format, and that is called as statutory liquid ratio. So, this is also announced by the RBI only. So, the RBI will announce it, and this is called as SLR, statutory liquid ratio. And it should be kept in an easily convertible format. So, easily convertible format are governments, bond, gold and dollar. Then we have bank rate. So, what is this bank rate? So I have already said scheduled bank. The banks under Schedule 2 are the banks which are responsible, which are eligible to get a loan from this RBA. So, they can get long-term as well as short-term loans. So, if it gets a long-term loan, the interest rate for the long-term loan is called as bank rate. So, it is the interest rate charged by the RBA for the long-term loans. The interest rate that RBI charges for the long-term loan is called as bank rate. So, for long-term loans, it charges around 8%. Say approximately. Approximately, bank rate is equal to 8%, let us say. Then, what is this repo rate? So, repo rate is also like bank rate only. It is for short-term loans. The interest rate charged by the RBI for the short-term loans is called as repo rate. So, this is for short-term loans. There will be always a difference of around 1% between this bank rate and repo rate. Between this bank rate and repo rate, there will be a 1% difference. So, if the bank rate is 8%, then our repo rate will be around 9%. Repo rate will always be higher than the bank rate. Why? Because most of the banks will get short-term loans only. So, the repo rate for the bank rate or the interest rate for the short-term loans will be higher than the interest rate for the long-term loans. That is why repo rate will be higher than bank rate. Then we have reverse repo rate. So, this reverse repo rate is the RBI can also borrow for money from this bank and they will give interest. So, earlier I have said one thing that is called the CRR. In that I have said. So, here I have said CRR, cash reserve ratio. In that also bank need to give some amount of money with the RBI. But in this case it will not get interest. So, banks will not get interest from the RBI. So, but in this case, in this reverse repo rate ratio case, the RBI will give interest. So, RBI will borrow and it will give interest to the bank. So, here the reverse repo rate is also the interest rate which the RBI gives to the scheduled banks for RBI borrowing. Here in this case, scheduled banks have borrowed. Here in this reverse repo rate, RBI is the one which has borrowed. So, this interest rate is also fixed by the RBI only. Bank rate is fixed by RBI, okay. So, bank rate is the one. Here RBI is the lender. Reverse repo rate is fixed by the RBI. Okay, RBI is the lender. But in reverse repo rate, so RBI is the borrower, but still RBI is the one who fixes the interest rate. So RBI fixes this RRR also. This reverse repo rate is also fixed by the RBI only. So this also have nearly 1% difference, and this 1% difference is with repo rate. So, repo rate, comparing the repo rate and RRR will always be lesser than this repo rate. This reverse repo rate will always be lesser than this repo rate. Then we have another term called as marginal standing facility. So, what is this marginal standing facility? RBI gives money. So, it can give money overnight without any collateral or surety. So, without any surety, if RBI gives money to the bank, it is called as a marginal standing facility. RBI gives money overnight. If you need money immediately in an emergency, RBI gives money overnight without any collateral or surety, and that is marginal standing facility. Here in this case the interest rate will be higher than repo rate as well as bank rate. For long term loans interest rate will be lesser compared to that of short term loans. But if you need to get a loan amount within a night, if you need loan, then automatically the interest rate will be higher, right? So MSF will be higher compared to that of repo rate will be higher compared to that of bank rate, and reverse repo rate will be lower compared to that of repo rate. So these are the things which you should remember. For reverse repo rate, RBI will give interest, whereas in case of cash reserve ratio, RBI will not give interest. And these are the things which are in quantitative tools of the monetary policy. So we have seen the quantitative tools. How these quantitative tools are used to control the inflation. So let us see that. So the major thing which is used to control inflation in these things are cash reserve ratio and repo rate only. So repo rate is an important tool to control the inflation, and the cash reserve ratio, which I have said first. So cash reserve ratio is also one of the important tool to control inflation. So these two are the most important things to control inflation. So to control inflation, so say by increasing the cash reserve ratio we can control inflation. So how by increasing cash reserve ratio we can control inflation? So cash reserve ratio is like a deposit. With deposit, some amount of money should be kept with RBI, right? So it will be announced by RBI by month. So if yearly it is 4%, if it is done 6%, then what will happen? Earlier it had 40 rupees in this 4%, now 60 rupees. So this 60 rupees should be kept with this RBI. So earlier it had kept 40, now it is 60. RBI has increased the cash reserve ratio. By this it has sucked 20 rupees out of the market. So because if the bank is having this 20 rupees, it will lend it to some other borrowers, right? So bank is the highest lender. Bank is the one which is lending money to the borrowers, right? Which is lending money to the people who need it. So if this CRR is increased, then automatically some amount of money will be sucked out of the market. So I have said 1000 rupees as the principal amount. Then in this 1000 rupees, if the RBI announces 6%, then we take 60 rupees out. But say these things will happen in course. So if there is 1000 crore money in the bank, then if it has been announced as 6%, then it is 60 crores. So it is a large money, right? So because of this, the RBI can suck the money out of the market by increasing this cash reserve ratio. So cash reserve ratio, if it is increased, then money supply in the market can be reduced. So if the money supply in the market is reduced, then inflation can come under control. So if the money supply increases, only inflation exists. So if the money supply is reduced, then inflation can be controlled, right? So this is one method. Then statutory liquid ratio. So statutory liquid ratio also, this is also same compared to that of CRR, but in CRR money will be given to RBI, but in SLR it should be kept as in easily convertible format. So it is like a routine amount which should be kept. It should not be used by the bank for any need. It should be kept in a easily convertible format. So earlier if it has said 15%, now it is, if it is increased to 20%, then this 5% of amount which will be in circulation in the market by government's lending, by banks lending, this will be sucked out of the market, right? This will come out of the market, then it should be kept aside, right? So by this the money supply will be reduced. By this inflation will come under control. So CLR also increase, CRR also increase. By increasing the CRR, inflation will be under control. By increasing the SLR can be, by increasing the SLR, inflation can be brought under control. Then other three: bank rate, repo rate, marginal standing facility or nearly interlinked. For bank rate, it is for long-term loans. For repo rate, it is for short-term loans. MSF, marginal standing facility, is for overnight loans. So in these three cases, also it is the interest rate which is fixed by the RBI only. So say if the interest rate is 8%, if the interest rate is 8%, so RBI is the one which is lending money to this banks, scheduled banks. For the scheduled banks, RBI is the lender. So RBI lender lends money for this 8%. Then the scheduled bank will lend this money to the borrowers, to the people, to the corporates. So here only we exist. The corporates will get money from the scheduled banks only. We can't get money directly from the RBI. So we should get money only from the scheduled banks. We can't get money directly from the RBI. So we get money from the scheduled banks. If the scheduled bank itself has borrowed money from the RBI in 8% interest, it will give money to them in 11% or 13% interest, say. So it will give money to the people and the corporates in an interest rate higher than that of interest rate which is given by the RBI. So, if the RBI has increased this 8% to 11%. So, this has been increased. If it is giving interest at 11%, then scheduled banks can give it for 11%, right? It will increase it to 15%. So, the interest rate will be increased for our people. So, we can't give this interest rate, and the amount of borrowings by the people will be reduced. People can't get a loan for this 15%, and we will reduce the borrowing. By reducing the borrowing, we will reduce the money supply. If the interest rate is low, say if a bank is giving an interest rate of around 1%, if it is giving loan, then automatically each and everyone will go and get loan. But if it is giving interest at a very high rate, then we won't get loans, right? So the borrowing by the people will be reduced. By the reducing borrowing, the money supply in the market will be reduced. If the money supply in the market is reduced, then automatically inflation will come under control. This is the case in all these three. So by bank rate, bank rate is for long term loans. If the bank rate is increased by the RBI, then automatically scheduled bank will also increase the interest rate of its loan. So to get a loan, it will charge high interest rate. So by that, people will stop getting loans. So by that, the money supply will be reduced. By that, we can bring inflation under control. Reverse repo rate is a one which is for short term loans. If it is increased also, the borrowings will be reduced. Marginal standing facility is for overnight loans. If it is increased also, then automatically the same thing happens. So, but the most of the corporates will most of the corporates will get only short term loans. So, by reducing the repo rate only, most of the times inflation will be brought under control. The two major things are cash reserve ratio and repo rate only. Then we have another one called as reverse repo rate, right? So by seeing the repo rate, by increasing the repo rate, if we can bring inflation under control, you will think that by reducing the reverse repo rate, inflation can be brought under control. But actually it is wrong. By increasing the reverse repo rate only, inflation can be brought under control. How is? So RBI. Here in this case, it is reverse. Scheduled bank is the one which is giving money for RBI in case of reverse repo rate. So, if the scheduled bank is giving money for the corporates, peoples as well as the RBI, it will give for around 11% here. And if RBI has increased the reverse repo rate to 13%, say, then automatically scheduled bank will look only for the profit, and RBI is giving interest rate for the reverse repo rate, right? So if it has made 13%, then automatically scheduled bank will give the money back to RBI itself instead of giving to this corporate and people. Automatically the money supply in the market will be reduced and it will be given back to the RBI, right? So because of increasing the reverse repo rate, the money will be given back by the scheduled bank to the RBI, so that we can reduce the money supply in the market. So even if it is not 13%, even if it is 11%, even if it is same to same, then scheduled bank will give this money to RBI only, because RBI will definitely give the interest rate. We can trust the RBI, right? So because of that, if it is giving this 11% to the people, then it needs to collect it. It has many complications. So instead of that, it can give this money to RBI and it can get its interest rate. So because of this fact, the scheduled banks will give its money to the RBI as a loan. So because of this, the money supply in the market can be reduced. So money supply in the market can be reduced by increasing the cash reserve ratio, by increasing the SLR, statutory liquid ratio, by increasing the bank rate, by increasing the repo rate, by increasing the marginal standing facility, by increasing the reverse repo rate. So these are the steps which is taken by the RBI to control inflation in the quantitative method. So by quantitative thing, these are the things which are done. We have another one term called as qualitative, right? In qualitative, it is different. So in qualitative, what we say is, if you need loan, then they will say you need to give these documents. They will increase the amount of documents which are needed to get a loan. They will increase money surety. They will make the steps more complicated. The steps to take money, the steps to get money will be made so complicated. They will increase more documents. They will ask for surety. They will ask for many other things to make this money lending process so complicated, so that you will not get money. By this, they can reduce the money supply, and that is qualitative. So these are the things which are in controlling methods. And after this, apart from this, we have certain small topics, and those are, so earlier this monetary policy commission, so RBI is the one which increases or decreases. It is the one which is responsible for controlling inflation. So earlier the governor will take the decision directly. Say if the governor is someone, governor of the RBI will take the decision directly. But now it has been changed. It had been made to monetary policy commission. So monetary policy commission consists of 6 members. So out of these 6 members, 3 members are from the RBI and 3 members are from the government. Both of them jointly decide this monetary policy commission. So in this monetary policy commission, 3 members are from the RBI, 3 from the government. So the majority wins. So if the 3 supports the decision, if 4 supports the decision, then the decision is taken. So if only 4 supports in favor of the RBI, then the decision will be taken. If 4 supports in favor of the government, then that decision will be taken. So the majority decides. Yearly, the RBI governor has the sole responsibility. The RBI governor is the one earlier decided this monetary policy, but now this monetary policy is decided by a joint commission called as Joint Monetary Policy Commission, in which 3 persons from the RBI as well as 3 persons from the government exist. The majority decision is what taken. So this is in favor of Government of India. This is in favor of Government of India, we can say, because earlier the RBI governor taken means the RBI has the sole power, but now government also has some power. So this is in favor of Government of India. Then inflationary target. The inflationary target is 4 plus or minus 2. So inflation can come to 2% or it can go up to 6%. This is the standard. This is the inflationary target which is set. If the RBI fails to achieve this target for 3 consecutive by months, if I say 3 consecutive by months means 3 consecutive by months, then it is 6 months. If it fails to achieve this for 6 months, then RBI needs to explain this to the Government of India by a written document. By a written document, it needs to explain that how it failed, why it failed. So these are the things which are relating to inflation. So minimum amount of inflation is always necessary. You can't say that inflation is bad. A minimum amount of inflation is always necessary, and inflation will be in control in developed countries. In developed countries, most of the times inflation will be in control, whereas in developing country only inflation will be higher. So India is a developing country, right? Because India is a developing country, its inflation will be higher compared to that of developed countries like US. Okay, so these are the things which are relating to inflation. And other thing is helicopter money. Relating to this, we can see another one term called as helicopter money. So helicopter money is like government printing more money and supply it to the people. So say government printing, it is like in a helicopter they are throwing money. If the money is thrown from the helicopter, then all the people in the area will get money free, right? So if the government will print more money and it will supply to the people. So it is during crisis, like the current crisis. We are in current crisis, right? So during like this crisis, if the people are in a shortage of money, then the government can print more money and can be supplied to the people, and that is called as helicopter money. But that we have some social schemes in which government will give money for the people who are below poverty line, and those things do not come under helicopter money. So social schemes, because of the social schemes, government need to spend its own money, government's expenditure. Social schemes spending comes under government's expenditure. Here government will print more money, they will print and supply, and this comes under the helicopter money. Earlier, like what I have said, qualitative tool, in qualitative tool they will ask for more things like more documents, they will ask for more documents. And say if you are having a margin, say if you are going to build a home and 10 lakh is the estimate, earlier 7 lakh bank will give 7 lakh. In this inflation time, if 10 lakh is the estimate, government will give only 4 lakh. So by reducing their amount of lending, they can control inflation, they can reduce the money supply in the market, by which they can reduce the inflation. So these are the things which are done to control inflation. So subscribe to Min IAS Academy. Thank you.